of the 10 selected.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. So,
50.
out of 50 people? Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so how did, not how did, so what was the award for?
It was for seniors who have given significant hours to the community, whether youth or adults or seniors themselves. And it was just a thing that the city started to do about, I guess, 40 years ago, recognizing seniors who contribute to the well-being of its citizens. And I was surprised because I didn't know
That you
my
were
name
even nominated.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
I was nominated for homecoming court in high school, and I didn't even know it to the people. So I didn't even know how to run for it or kind of it was weird.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you this is good. So you mentioned seniors, and so I had an encounter or in the dollar store the other day. I went to the Dollar Tree to get some things, but nevertheless, in there was an older lady at the register, and so I needed to use the restroom, so I asked for the bathroom key. She didn't know, but she did tell me that she was new. So I told her, okay, we'll hold off on it, and so we were finished ringing me up, and then I'll get the key from her. But she needed to call for help, and when she called for help, a younger lady came up because now younger people are in management roles, which is a really, really great thing. And yet she was rude in how I felt, because again, the respect for elderly people in my generation is different now than how younger people nowadays respect the elder community.
Right.
And so she was like, well, the key's always here, kind of thing. But I just thought it was really rude. And then the lady was really timid to even ask for help, which means that the girl does not make her feel good about asking for help.
Particularly since she was new.
Yes, particularly because she was new, and then there's no respect of that. She's even an older lady getting out in the community trying to do something again in her older age. So I think you want to tell me something? So I think sometimes I'm just still weary of moving. I'm like staying down here. So I think the question that I want to ask is, as the seasoned individuals, especially those who are in the community, right? But just those, period. Our grandparents, our mothers, and our fathers, like they age at some point. So my question is, how can we collapse this, or how do we encourage older people to still want to even get out and still try to have some type of active life when the younger people are almost not acceptable to them, or kind of see them as a plague or something because they're even around?
I find the people my age, either a little younger or a little older, that those who have accomplished something, or who are involved in something, or who have done some self-discoveries, that those older folks don't worry about the younger ones. Except that we do feel like they're missing something because they're missing an experience with us.
Right.
But it doesn't bother those people who have done something you can feel good about. It may bother some of the older folks who have not accomplished much. And that's not a criticism, but it's just an observation about human nature.
Right.
But when I find a young person is not respectful around me, my response is, I hope that person has an experience so they can actually learn. It doesn't bother me personally.
Right.
And I would do at that moment anything to help them understand that there is some respect is due. And the other thing about that, though, is, do we teach our young folks? When I'm saying young, I'm talking about anything from 2 to 50.
Right. Young folk, absolutely.
A little bit of the real history of our communities. They won't get it. You just can't make them have respect.
Wow.
Some of them have to get to from learning about the experiences that we've had. I just worked with 12 young ladies and men from Ghana and found the respect overwhelming. I mean, it was like each one of them respected me as if I was their real grandfather.
Right,
And
right.
that was, to me, kind of different. I mean, I always have heard people say, oh, people from Africa are polite. Maybe not every person from every country, but particularly about those young men that were from Ghana, extremely polite.
Right.
And it was just something you could take for granted. And I thought, if I could have some of the young folks I work with see how this works,
Right.
they make an impression that maybe I could be respectful. Because to be respectful also says something about yourself.
I agree. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree. And I think that's what I was saying, like being able to like see an older person, whether if they are or they're not, as your grandparent, as your mother, as someone that you value, and someone, if you saw someone mistreating, that you would get mad and you were ready to be, you were ready to fight, because if that was that individual's mother and someone else talked to their mother like that, you would be ready to pop off, you would be ready to get physical. You'll probably say some hurtful things. But why is it that we can't? Why is it that, or is it hard, or that we can't, or maybe learning how to adapt?
The same is true for me about the young people. Young folks who have a degree of respect for themselves, who are into something positive, who have no demons that they're fighting, they are respectful to the others.
This is true.
They have no reason not to be.
Right.
So I think it's just those young folks who may be struggling with something, got some unresolved stuff or some immediate stuff that's bothering them. Maybe they don't even know it, but just not settled with themselves.
Right.
Those are the folks who tend to be a little bit disrespectful because they don't feel so good about themselves. And it's hard to reach out if you don't feel the stuff inside yourself.
Right. And so, I like this. And so, but I think it maybe could be another side of the coin about not feeling good about yourself, because I thought that I felt good about myself, as far as, because I had a respect for the elderly. But I grew up, my household was a lot, my upbringing and my household. But I also realized I didn't have a level of respect for myself in so many ways, because I was allowing myself to be trapped in people pleasing. I was allowing myself to believe the narratives that other people were saying about me. I would often sometimes be a follower instead of the leader that I knew that I was, just to kind of be in the in crowd with people. And so I think what I'm trying to get to is that the level of respect that the child is displaying doesn't originally come from the child. It comes from the household and the environment too, as well.
It does.
So because children are like sponges and they're a reflection, so they're gonna kind of like pretty much mimic what's been taught to them until they had an opportunity to learn or know the difference.
Yeah. Well, I think it's unfortunate that right now there is an air of disrespect in some of the communities, and it's no one in particular, no one incident in particular, but just the nature of things. People seem not to be as gentle and kind as some generations past. That may well be due to all the technology and the faster life and all, but just a less kind, less gentle world, really, when you look at it. And that influences every young person that's growing up.
Yes, I agree. And I think working at the Children's Hospital, I saw, because I was there at the Children's Hospital for 17 years, but it's almost like you absolutely saw or felt a different breed of children start to come in.
Yeah.
And just the way that they would just even handle the nurses, the doctors, but even how they you listen to how they talk to their parents. And and although I wished as a child that some that do as I say, not as I do, children should be seen and not heard. So I really think, my timidness, like you said, that I would like look at the carpet and not look up. I think that came from the not having the freedom to speak and not having the freedom to be, and that I was more valuable if I was quiet than if I was sharing or expressing how I felt from within.
Yeah.
And so it's, I don't know, and so it's just the whole contradictions of that we gotta undo and relearn
Yep.
ourselves
Yep.
on the particular things.
Yeah. If we're talking really big general terms like that, I think we have to again think. There's an African village,
Hmm.
a couple I know about in particular, and the atmosphere there is created based on one assumption. That is that every child who's born in that village is something special.
Hmm.
And so the first question is asked by the village is, when a child is born, the question is, what has God brought us with this child?
Oh, wow, that's
That's the
beautiful.
way that the village operates. So that
Yeah.
as that kid grows up, it is always fully respected, no conditions to it. So as that child gets a little older, he or she automatically has the full respect
Hmm.
for younger ones and for the older ones. It's
Right.
just the nature of the village. I mean, the atmosphere of the village,
Right.
the
Right.
culture that's
Right.
created. Um, there is a mentoring program that started in Philadelphia based on that concept
Yeah.
that every child you work with is a special gift from God. And you have to determine what is it that that child has brought to you
Hmm.
as it is born into the world to join you. It's a
Is this the
different way
store
to
you
look
want to
at
go
it.
to?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
again,
I think that that's a beautiful concept as far as just that, right? Because I knew that there was absolutely something special about me,
yeah,
but my environment didn't help water that for me to internalize it. And
right,
so
right,
I finally saw a while ago, because meeting you at 13 and I'm at the dropout prevention program, like you were definitely trying to get us to see outside the boxes of the what's the word I'm looking for? It starts with a P. Propaganda. And you were getting us to, you were implementing things, but because my environment at home was more on a consistent basis, it almost washed out or overshadowed or sucked the life out of the seed that you had planted in me. So like when I got back home, although I learned that, because you had all these nice pictures, I remember this one particular time, and you told us to guess what part of the world that these pictures was in, and we named every other part of the world except for Africa. And at that point, you were really trying to let us know the propaganda of what's being done and shown about Africa.
yeah,
But when I got home, that concept had no room to grow, to breathe, to live, because of what was going on inside my home environment.
yeah,
And so you saying, it starts within the individual, and it starts within our parents, and then within the children, and then the whole home environment at large. So the children just can't have it, the parents just can't have it,
right,
each individual must have it. And that's what we create, the environment that we then live in.
yeah. This is, there's not time for this conversation here because
No, no, we gonna
it's a
talk. I know.
bigger
Well,
concept.
we gonna talk
Because
about it.
the way kids are raised in each community and in each home
Hmm.
depends a great deal on what those parents have learned from their parents.
Right.
And so, my attitude toward young folks I work with in the community and at school was one that was nurtured in a way that it didn't have to be put aside. It didn't have to be set aside and discussed as this is how you got to be.
Hmm.
It was a natural thing I developed.
Right.
I didn't treat kids gently and kinder because somebody taught me that.
Right.
But treated them that way because that's how I was.
Right.
I didn't have to go to school to learn to be that.
Exactly. It's a universal thing.
So
You need
when
to
you,
go in
yeah,
the store.
yeah,
So, Mr. O gonna go in
when
the store. I'm gonna chop it up with y'all real quick. I give y'all some backdrop on how amazing he is. And so, Mr. Oliver is the village mentor. If you ask anybody, they will not debate what I'm saying to you. I met Mr. Oliver 13 at a dropout prevention program at Morgan Fitzgerald, and he has been an exemplary um, man in my existence, in my community. Um, in the building of many individuals. As you heard him say that young is from 2 to 50 is what he said. So a young person is from 2 to 50. Mr. Oliver is 80s, 87, 86, I believe. So a young person to Mr. Oliver is 2 to 50. And so I'm just like really talking to him, right? Because it's almost so it's a thing that people are not considered legacies until they're gone and passed away. And what I am hoping to do is because Mr. Oliver mentioned about them not knowing where they come from and them understanding like the history. And this is what I feel like we did not have as children. Like we didn't have a more out loud exemplary um, representation of what men like Mr. Oliver, women like Mr. Oliver, individuals like Mr. Oliver did inside the community. And so my personal story is Enoch Davis Center. Enoch Davis Center was a building, I believe it was a library. Was it a library? Enoch Davis Center. I didn't think it was a library. See, I don't even know, and that's not good. But this is my point. Like we had youth dances inside this building. Like we was shaking what our mama gave us, shaking what our mama gave us, but yet we didn't know the history about who this individual was, whose name was on this building. It was not to, and I am shameful to say that it was not to until about 3.5 years ago that I discovered who Enoch Davis was. And Enoch Davis built affordable housing for black and brown people on the south side of St. Pete, inside his community. It's what he did to provide sustainability and to provide a sense of comfort and belonging, and doing his part in the village of making the world a better place. And so Enoch Davis absolutely understood the assignment. And I think if we knew more and we had more out loud examples of what people in the community like Enoch Davis, like Jim Oliver has done, like literally I know nothing against Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, like they did their thing and we are still reaping the benefits of what they did and the seeds that they planted. But if we had a picture of Jim Oliver on the outside of our buildings, then when individuals see the face of the person and they happen to be standing next to him in the grocery store, in the laundromat, or at a school because he mentors at schools, that they will absolutely know who this legendary man is. And so I think we're doing our history, our story, a disservice when we don't honor those who have taken a role and an out loud intentional stance to make sure that we connect with our history, to make sure that we know who we are, to make sure that we understand that we are on the right side of the universe. Those are Mr. Oliver words. Yeah. And so Mr. Oliver will be back, and what are we going to talk about more? I was looking in the back to see if I had one of the books that he's in. So Mr. Oliver is in Repair of the Black Family Anthology. Um, that is a part of Sister Naira Muhammad collaboration. And so we all did an anthology, which is one book full of a bunch of authors, and we're all telling our story. But the thing about this story, it don't just leave you with the story, because everybody want the tea, everybody knows somebody's story. But are you intentionally providing action steps and solutions so when people feel like they are living in that storyline, they know how to get out of it? And so Repair the Black Family Anthology leaves you with repair steps at the end of each chapter to help you get out of your way. And so now Mr. Jim Oliver is coming back. And so we're going to tap back into, since we were just talking about the history of St. Pete and what's going on, I'm going to tag him back in there. And guess what cool thing? Stay tuned so you want to find out what cool thing that we are about to find out about Mr. Oliver. And him saying how he didn't need anyone to teach him how to do this universal thing, which is care. I just saw a video the other day, and it looked like the owner of the of the horses was like sitting on the steps crying. She had a moment, and there she sat there crying, and the horses gathered around her. So it's like it's a universal thing to care and want to provide assistance when someone else is in a position, and it's the one thing it seems like that's dying out. It's the one thing that is in steak right now. And so if the animals know just naturally how to do it, we gotta know that we naturally knew how to do it too. And um so Miss Oliver's back. So back to the question. So Mr. O, we are talking about history. I told them a little bit of just taglining back on how you mentioned just knowing our history and knowing certain things. And so I'm guilty because I did not know who Enoch Davis was until like 3.5 years ago. And so I'm guilty of the very thing. This is why I want to have the thing, because I did not know. But it wasn't because I chose not to. These are the things that are not being taught.
Right.
These are the things that are not an out loud thing inside our community and our neighborhood. And I'm challenging individuals, buildings, and corporations to not let individuals like Mr. Oliver do the work in the community, because no matter what you want to patronize, no matter what you want to build inside the city of St. Pete, no matter what you want to do, you need the community to be on board in order to make it happen, in order to make it a thing. And so here you got out loud, you got exemplary community builders who do a lot of this with their own money, because by the time you try to get grants and do the funding, they tell you how it's going to be done, and now it's more about corporation than it is about being an essential part of the building, essential part of building the community. And so with history not being something that was shown of all the great people who were doing the community work like you're currently doing the community work, because if there was a mural of you in on the building, then when children saw you in the store, they would know that they were almost standing next to what we consider as to be Beyonce and all these famous rappers and celebrities, because Mr. Oliver is absolutely a celebrity inside the community. And so I want us to be able to connect. You can turn this one,
Yes. Yes.
so we can also connect. I want us to be able to connect with our present day, with the present day intentional, exemplary individuals who are out here doing the work. So, Mr. Oliver, you said that you didn't need to be taught how to do the thing, like it was a universal thing. And then I got another question for you. Go ahead.
I didn't need to be taught here because the community and the culture in which I grew up was simple for me to just inhale it. I didn't have to do anything special. So talking about this, I think that we need to begin to think about what was it from our culture historically that we can bring forward to help us all out. Now, I'm not asking us to go back. I'm simply suggesting that there are some norms that we can revisit and see if they won't stand up to today's challenges, and I think they will. And they're very simple. Respect for oneself, respect for others, respect for those institutions in your community, and doing your part to be a positive part of all of that. I mean, it's simple. It didn't cost any money.
Right.
You have to have a special course,
Right.
Technical training. But I think that the problem is we are unable to create that atmosphere until we get back to creating an atmosphere where little children can start earlier saying, I'm okay. See, it's hard to raise okay children in not okay atmospheres. So if we can begin with the institutions, like, for example, our churches, our schools, our youth programs, our everything in the community, all of them need to be looked at again, and we need to find ways to put in a lot more caring stuff,
Yeah.
a lot more nurturing stuff,
Yeah.
a lot more opportunities for kids to grow emotionally.
I agree.
Because when you get healthy emotional growth, then people learn principles that are positive. They learn about care,
Right.
concern, sharing. So if I could go back and start, maybe back in 1970 or 80, I would say let's improve our community. so that the people that we want to bring up in that community have a chance to be good people.
Right,
But we
right.
can't right now. We're trying to intervene and change some children, change some young adults, and turn them around. Can't be done in isolation. I think you've got to have a basis for it. And the way to do that is to create,
A proper environment.
yes, so they can learn some of it just without having to do any extra effort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that.
So right now, what I'm going to begin to do is try to get more work done with, first of all, our schools. I mean, that's crucial. And then our churches, I think, need a little bit more welcoming kind of atmosphere for youth.
Mm-hmm.
And our community programs that are set up need to make a priority out of making sure kids know you care. They're not
Yes.
walking in the building for you to check them off and count your numbers,
Right.
but they're coming for care and concern.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Y'all, we'll be back with Mr. O. I got a video on here already of Mr. Oliver when we did the, I think that was the third annual Blue Lips Don't Care experience, and he did a whole, he just did his thing. He's the village mentor. He know what to do because that's what he do. Um, yeah, so stay tuned. We'll be back because Mr. O is better, y'all, now. So we gonna be all over him
Thank
getting
you.
some of these jewels so we can ensure that we pass it down to the village. We're gonna put it in books. We're getting it in schools. We're getting it in churches, and we're gonna re we're gonna re-enter into community and safe places with each other. Thank you.